We are back with Lou today, but before we get into some more Lou time, I'm gonna show you what Trail Ridge Road looks like. Trail Ridge Road is the longest continuous paved highway in the United States. You're riding along up to over 12,000 feet above sea level across alpine tundra along the Continental Divide. And it's just an extraordinary drive. Parts of it you can see clear into Wyoming. Sometimes you're up there driving through the clouds. It's just a really incredible experience. And the first time I did it, it was a complete thrill ride. Very scary. But after having lived up there for so long and gone up there so much, it's just, for me, it's just a beautiful, relaxing drive. So here's my time lapse of Trail Ridge Road, and then we'll talk to Lou. So today we're just going to jump right back into the conversation Lou and I were having about his hitchhiking stories. At this point in the story, he's kind of telling me that he's not really wanting to go back to college and he is considering getting back on the road. So without further ado, here's Lou.
And so I rationalized that I could come back to college, but I was going to celebrate by not signing up for the next quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And it really upset my parents.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You know, you were going to college for one reason. You should now stay in there because it's going to be real hard to get back.
Mm-hmm.
and I exercised my autonomy and said, I just need to go. Well, I didn't go anywhere. And I was working as a nurse's aide in a hospital, which I had been doing in high school and in college. It was good money and I was good at it. But every good story has to have a woman. And I had fallen in love with a woman, a nurse, an RN, on the night shift. And I had a sister living in Los Angeles. I had an older sister who had been living in Los Angeles. We had taken family trips to Los Angeles, and they both lived in Hollywood. One of them lived in Beverly Hills and the other one lived in Hollywood. So when we go to visit, we were getting that flavor of LA, which didn't appeal to my parents at all, but it did to me. It was the Hollywood that you saw in the 30s, it was the Hollywood you got in the 60s. Just different cars,
right,
different clothes. Well, this nurse that I'd fallen in love with, when she found out that I wanted to go to Hollywood, she said that she did also. Well, at the same time in this real conservative town, and there were a couple of contractors who had gotten in the real estate business and bought some buildings. So they took one of their buildings and turned it into a club. And for the grand opening, they went to Las Vegas and got some showgirls and rented an airplane, and they brought the showgirls to this town, and they were going to dance semi-nude for us. And we all went nuts. And so, since it was a big night out, I went home and put on my finest going to the club clothing. It was houndstooth checkered pants, brown wingtips,
oh, that's great,
a red Banlon golf shirt, and a London Fog waistcoat with the collar turned up. I was looking pretty cool. And so I'm sitting there, and 8 o'clock comes, 8:30 comes. I'm sitting to where I can see the door, and all of a sudden I see Phyllis's cute face come in, and she got her hand stamped, and she walked in, and I was getting ready to get up when this used car salesman came in right behind her, put his hand on her shoulders, and aimed her around. You know, you could see he was talking. Where do you want to sit? And I don't know what was going through Phyllis's head, because she was a very honest woman. But she told me she'll meet me there. Then she comes with this used car salesman. And this is where the woman enters every good story. And I caught an attitude immediately. And she didn't see me as he was moving her. They settled on a table up by the stage. And my buddies who were sitting with me went, "She got you, man." I got up and I walked up there. I put my head down between the two of them. And she realized, you know, "Oh, there you are." And I said, "What's going on, Phyllis?" She says, well, we came to the show just like we were talking. I said, "Are you going to come sit with me?" She says, "Well, why don't you come sit with us?" Finally, a little after 10 o'clock, I had doubled down on my consumption rate. There was no reverse gear. It was only drive. My foot was going down on the pedal fast. And I think one more drink and I would have been knee walking drunk.
Oh, wow.
I was stumbling drunk. And I kept trying to get her away from him. And that's when I started saying, "Well, I'm going to LA. And I'm going tonight. Or I'll go in the morning if you'll go with me." And she went, well, yeah, we got to talk about it. And I said, no, no more talking. If you're not going with me tomorrow, tell me, and I'm leaving tonight. She says, well, I can't go tonight, I don't want to go tomorrow, and we need to talk. I said, okay, so you're not going tomorrow, I'm going tonight. And I turned around, and I went back over, and I got my wallet and my pack of cigarettes, and my buddy said, so what's going on? I said, on my way to Hollywood. And they went, ah, and I walked away. And I walked out to the parking lot. And I went over to my car. This is where it goes off the rails. I went over to my car, opened the trunk, and I had a winter survival small day pack style thing. On the dashboard was my checkbook to a very large savings account. I didn't take that. I closed the trunk and I threw that pack over one shoulder and I walked out, and the street was the truck route through this, around this town. And it was, I think it was US 6. And I stood on the curb and put my thumb out. And the vehicles started coming, you know, and they just go on by, and then semi would come. I was sticking my thumb out. Pretty soon I heard gravel crunching behind me. Someone was driving out of the parking lot. And they stopped, and I heard Phyllis's voice. Lou, what are you doing? And I looked, and it was Phyllis with the car dealer or car salesman behind the wheel. And I said, you know what I'm doing. I'm going to Hollywood. She went, oh, Lou. Come on, let's go back in. I go, no. Are you coming? No, I'm not. And stick my thumb out again. More cars drove by. And he speaks and he goes, where'd you say you were going? I said, Hollywood, California. He goes, isn't that west of here? Yeah. He says, well, you're thumbing to the east. And then it hit me. And I was a good geography student. You know, now I know why I left my car there.
Oh, no.
Because I didn't even know I was hitching east. I went, oh. I stepped down off the sidewalk and I walked across 4 lanes of traffic to the other side of the road. And I went like that. They pulled out, pulled over next to the curb. She goes, Lou, get in. Get in. And the idea that I was going to get in, sit down next to her, I complied. And she opened the door and I got in. She slid over. Now the 3 of us are sitting there. And she says, where do you think you're going? I told you, I'm going to Hollywood. You and I have been planning this. I said, we've already worked this out. We know that's what we want. I don't know why you're not going to go with me. All of a sudden, we're up at I-80 at a truck stop and driving around the truck lot. And suddenly the car stopped next to a tractor, semi-tractor, and he gets out. And I took this as an opportunity. And I pulled her next to me and planted a big wet one on her. And she was kissing me, but pushing me away at the same time. And he came back and he said, I got your ride, Lou. I said, huh? He goes, get out, this guy's ready to leave. Got your ride. Well, he asked this trucker, will you take this guy out of my life?
Right?
And he gave him money.
No shit.
Yeah, he paid this semi-driver to get me the hell out of there. And Phyllis said, no, don't leave. I went, I'm sticking by my guns, I'm leaving. And I walked to the semi, open the door, climb up. It was a cab over.
Mm-hmm.
Climbed up, and I looked, and there's the driver, and he goes, "I'm only going as far as Denver," and I felt this relief. Oh, good. It's like I'm not going to shut the door, and next I'm in Hollywood.
Right.
I'm only going to Denver. And I went, okay. Shut the door, and we got out on the dark interstate, and I was nodding. And he said, "Are you falling asleep?" And I went, "I think so." He goes, "Climb in the sleeper. You'll fall out of your chair and hit my shifter." I said, "Okay." So I climbed up in the sleeper, pulled the curtains closed, and that was it. Next thing I know, he's yelling, "You awake? You awake?" I said, "Yeah, what?" He goes, "We're going to be in Denver in 20 minutes. And I went, "What? Denver?" You know, that moment of grayness. And I pulled the curtains away, and there were the mountains. I went, "Holy crap, this is for real." So he lets me out at 52nd and said, "Good luck, kid." Drove on. And I'm standing there at the off ramp. Going, what in the hell? And there's a big sign that said hitchhiking illegal. And I saw Howard Johnson's. And so I walk up the off ramp and go over to the Howard Johnson. And I go in to get a cup of coffee. And they don't want me in there because I was reeking. I was still kind of stumbling. They let me in just for the coffee. I couldn't sit down. And I walked outside. When I came out, sitting by the newspaper machines on a planter was a really good looking girl. Dark hair, long hair. She had a big backpack. She was very attractive. She smiled. And I went to the other end of the planter and sat down. And mind you, I still am in my brown wingtips, my houndstooth checkered pants, my red band line. I'm drinking the coffee, and two guys, they had long hair and two backpacks, and they walked on by and went over to the on-ramp on 52nd that went down to the Valley Highway, and they kind of went out of sight. And the girl says, "Are you hitchhiking?" Because I had that little pack. And I went, "Yeah." She says, "Where are you going?" And I said, "LA." She says, "Yeah, me too." I said, "What are you going to LA for?" She goes, and I got a scholarship to UCLA. Wow. She says, "What about you?" I said, "Oh, I'm going out there to work for an ambulance company." And she said, "Are you starting now?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You mind if I come with you?" I went, "No, it's fine." She goes, "Sometimes it's kind of hard to hitchhike with two people, but it's a lot safer." I said, "Oh yeah, I understand." So she stands up and puts her pack on. She had a big pack. And we walk out. As soon as we turn to go down the on-ramp, we see these two guys. And they were clear out at the merging area. Mm-hmm. And a Denver PD motorcycle cop going down Valley Highway, and they see him as he's coming out over the overpass, and they turn and they start running up the on-ramp, and he goes down beyond them, and they had planted juniper trees and had wire around them, all on the side of the on-ramp. And I saw a plastic baggie go flying from those guys over behind one of the juniper trees as they were running. And they got up to us and they said, "Move it. It's illegal to hitchhike." And I went, but, and we weren't really on the on-ramp. Uh-huh. And that cop turned his motorcycle and he drove up the on-ramp and got to us. So now he's got 4 of us standing there. And he didn't see the baggie go flying.
Uh-huh.
And he says something about it's illegal. And he wrote us all warning tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And drove away. So we let him go. And I said, shit, well, what do we do now? And these 2 guys with long hair said, we'll go back down there and we hope we get a ride real fast. And the girl and I said, well, we're just going to stand here, and anyone that turns onto the on-ramp
Right.
will be on the street
Mm-hmm.
hitchhiking. And these guys said, well, if you get a good ride, have them stop and pick us up too. And it wasn't 5 minutes, and here comes a Chevrolet station wagon. And it's got 1 driver, and the car is empty.
Yeah.
And he sees the girl as he turns, because we're like smiling, going, help us, help us. And he stops. But he stopped and asked the girl and I if we needed a ride, and we said, absolutely. So she hopped in the front seat, I hopped in the back seat, and we start going down this on-ramp. And he said, oh, there's 2 more. And she said, yeah, those are 2 guys. They said if you get a good ride, and they'll stop to pick them up. And he goes, okay. So he stops, and the 2 guys said, really? And they hopped in. I mean, that was exactly what all of us were looking for.
Right.
Was something with a large capacity that was going our direction. So we get in, and we're all telling stories, driving down the road. 2 guys in the back seat with me, this attractive young lady in the front. So we're trucking along, and as soon as you come into Raton, there was a drive-in hamburger spot with big trees and picnic tables outside. So we get out and go over there, and she didn't offer to buy me a burger, but it came and it was huge. And so she cut it in half. It was more than she needed, gave me half of it. I thanked her. We get back in, and I don't know why, but when all of a sudden we're sitting there at this picnic table, the soldier in the station wagon comes back. And he said, well, I guess I got to go to Albuquerque. So if you guys want to continue the ride. And we went, yeah.
Sure.
So one of the guys got in the front seat where the girl was sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And so the girl and I and the other guy sat in the back. And we leave Raton and go down the highway a little ways. He said, you ever been up the Red River? I said, I think so when I was a little kid, but everyone else goes, no. He goes, let's go up there. I got a great swimming spot. Cool.
Yeah.
So we head up Red River Canyon, and we pull it over, and we leave our packs and everything, and we go over, and the far bank has a beach. So we walk around the lake and get to the other side to this beach. And the 2 guys and the soldier, they stripped down to nothing. So I stripped down to nothing. I'm looking at the girl, and she said, do you think this is okay? I went, looks like what you do. And so she stripped down to nothing. No one was staring at her except me. And we were kind of bonded.
Mm-hmm.
And we go down, we climb in the water, it was warm, just felt great, and we're swimming around and splashing water at each other. All of a sudden the soldier said, we got company, and these 2 straw hats. That's all you can see is them walking in the tall grasses.
Uh-huh.
And it's a husband and wife in their 70s. They got their fold-up lawn chairs and their 5-gallon bucket and a fishing rod. And they come out of the brush and look, and they see 5 heads from here. We all went, "Hey, good afternoon." It startled them, you know. And they go, "Oh, hello." So they set up a little ways from where our piles of clothes were.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that gave this old couple a clue. The time came, and we all walked up on the beach to our pile of clothes.
Uh-huh.
Dicks hanging out, titties hanging out. The woman screamed.
Did she now?
The husband goes, "What's wrong with you hippies?" "Well, we didn't want to get our clothes wet in public." And the woman was trying to pull her straw hat down. She couldn't unsee what she saw.
Mm-hmm.
We got our clothes on and we walked away from there. We're laughing. We get back to the station wagon. Now we've all shared something really good. I mean, we've been sharing the ride,
Mm-hmm.
the reasons for the ride, our appreciation of the ride, and now an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We're sharing that.